Good morning. I'm Pastor Allen. Glad you're joining us. We're in a series called Can You See Him? And today's topic is Seeing During Tough Times. And I'd like to begin by reading our text, part of the Bible we'll be discussing. It's a narrative from the life of Christ, recorded by Mark, which most people believe was Peter's story. So I'm reading from Mark chapter 10, verse 45. Then they reached Jericho, and as Jesus and his disciples left town, a large crowd followed him. A blind beggar named Bartimaeus, and we talked about a guy last week was blind. We didn't know his name. We know this guy's name. Son of Timaeus, was sitting beside the road. When Bartimaeus heard that Jesus of Nazareth, not any Jesus, Jesus of Nazareth, was nearby, he began to shout, "Jesus, Son of David, have mercy on me." "Be quiet," many of the people yelled at him. But he only shouted louder, "Son of David, have mercy on me." When Jesus heard him, he stopped and said, "Tell him to come here." So they called the blind man. "Cheer up," they said. "Come on, he's calling for you." Bartimaeus threw aside his coat, jumped up, and came to Jesus. "What do you want me to do for you?" Jesus asked. "My rabbi," the blind man said, "I want to see." And Jesus said to him, "Go, for your faith has healed you." Instantly, the man could see, and he followed Jesus down the road. So, Mark 6. We want to try and apply the fact of seeing Jesus during difficult times. Maybe you're going through a difficult season now. All of us have difficult seasons. It could be maybe financial difficult season, where maybe you've lost your job or just inflation and crazy enough going on in our economy. You're in a difficult financial situation. It could be a health issue. We are going to be praying for someone that needs a liver transplant, a member of our church's daughter. All right, that's a difficult season for the parents as well as the sick person. Maybe it's school-related. Your kids are having problems with school or problems with a teacher. We don't like these things. We like our lives to go smoothly, but life isn't that way, is it? So in those difficult times when things aren't going as you would like, maybe your marriage is shaky and you're not connecting, can you see Jesus in that? So we're going to try and learn a few things from a blind beggar. You can learn from anybody, right? A blind beggar lived 2,000 years ago. Some principles or some wisdom, if you will. And you don't need to have to be a Jesus follower to gain some wisdom from this experience of Bartimaeus. So, 7 verses, we're going to pick out 7 lessons or wisdom for each of us. So, firstly, don't wait for perfect conditions. Don't wait for perfect conditions. We'll read the text. What's the situation for Bartimaeus? Well, Jesus is on the road from Jericho to Jerusalem with his disciples. A large crowd was following him. You ever been in a large crowd? Especially on the road. Some of us have run marathons. It's chaotic, right? It's noisy and you know, it's confusing, right? So this guy's sitting alongside the road and this crowd is coming by. And of course, he can't see them. He can only hear them. We know his name. And he was sitting beside the road. Now, crowd. What happens in a crowd? It's hard to hear. It's hard to get somebody's attention. And if somebody's speaking Jesus, people are going to be crowded around him. Is that perfect conditions? In this case, for this man to get Jesus' attention? No, it would be very difficult. In fact, let me ask you, what would be the odds of Jesus connecting with God? I don't know, I'm not an odds maker, but it would be very slim chance that a blind beggar beside the road Jesus in the midst of a crowd would even hear him or see him. So sometimes we are paralyzed by, just got to wait till things are better, or perfect. It could be in discussing something serious with someone that you're close to. Well, yeah, I don't know exactly what to say. I don't know how to pray, whatever it might be. So I'll just put it off. Procrastination, right? We just procrastinate because it's not exactly right. It's not perfect. It could be a financial situation. It could be a health issue, whatever it might be. Supposedly us men are bad at going to doctors when we have health issues, right? So this guy's sitting beside the road, nowhere near ideal conditions, but Jesus is coming by, right? Some wisdom from the Old Testament. If you wait for perfect conditions, guess what happens? You never get anything done because there's no perfect situations. So there's no perfect time to talk to that loved one about that issue. There's no perfect time to make the health issue. So don't wait for perfect conditions. I think most of us got that one. Second lesson. Focus on what you have, i.e. not what you don't have. So easy for, I don't have this, I can't do this, or issues in our lives, right? Well, what was his situation? Well, he was blind, so he didn't have sight. But what did he have? When Bartimaeus heard that Jesus of Nazareth was nearby, how do you hear? With ears. So he had ears to hear. He didn't have eyes to see, but he had ears to hear. It was coming by. He began to shout. All right, can't see, but he can what? He can speak, he can talk, he can shout. Son of David, have mercy on me. So what are you, in your situation, your difficulty, what is it that you're waiting to be different? What are you waiting for? Are you trapped by your don't haves? I don't have the money, I don't have the education, I don't have whatever it might be. Let me just say this to you. It's on your outline, there's no wrong time to call out for Jesus. I was going to make it a question, but I thought that was silly, right? There's no wrong time to call out to Jesus for help, whether it's in a difficult relationship, whether it's financial, something more concrete. Maybe it's, again, a health issue, work-related issue, some issue. Never a wrong time to call out to Jesus. Think about what you have, what God has done for you, what God has given you. A verse out of the Psalms. I ponder all your great works, God, and think about what all that you have done for me, all that I do have. Who knows what a hoopty is? Okay, we call it a beater car, right? It's still running. Somebody in our congregation, their truck stopped running last week, so they bought a new truck. But a hoopty is it's not got a lot of bells and whistles, and if you had an option, you would like something nicer. But it has 4 wheels, and the engine still runs, and it can get you from this place to that place. So, point being, think about what you do have. So, I might not be able to drive in style, but I can get to work, or I can get to school, or I can get where I want to go. What about food? Who eats in fancy restaurants all the time? None of us can afford to do that, right? But you have food on your table. My wife likes to use the expression, at least you have beans and rice. All right, it might not be fancy, but it'll fill you up and keep your body going, right? Think about what you have. Now, people in third world countries, they do a better job of this than we do, don't we? So they're thankful they have a meal on their table or clothes to wear, a roof over their head. We just have so much. Let me ask you a question. What do you think motivated Bartimaeus? All right, he's considered a sinner, lowest caste of society. He's blind, he's a beggar, sitting alongside the road, and this crowd with Jesus is coming by. What would motivate him to cry out to Jesus? I think it boils down basically to one word: hope. Right? Hope. If he doesn't connect with Jesus, what's his destiny? What's the rest of his time on earth going to look like? He's going to be a blind beggar sitting beside the road, right? So this is the only option he has of any hope at all. So, not hard to understand how motivated he would be, is it? So how motivated are you and I when we're in the midst of those difficult situations? I don't know, sometimes they paralyze us. Sometimes they just wear us out, I think. Don't they? Lesson number 3 from the blind man, dealing with difficult situations. Don't be swayed by public opinion. All right, did the public opinion want him to be yelling out to Jesus, get Jesus' attention? No, let's read the verse. They yelled, "Be quiet." Many of the people yelled at him. So he's yelling, and other people are yelling at him, "Shut up, don't bother Jesus, he's an important person, and you're not," whatever they might be saying, right? So it'd be easy to be intimidated, it would be easy to shut up, wouldn't it? Is that what this guy does? Yeah, he just shouts louder, right? He refers to Jesus as the Son of David. Why is that significant? The Messiah was going to be in the lineage of David. So part of that hope is this could be not just somebody's going to heal me, but the Messiah is going to heal the whole nation of Israel. So what did he need? He technically didn't need to see, I guess. He was surviving. But most of us consider that a need, right? So he needed a miracle. Call it what it is. He needed a miracle. He needed Jesus to show up, as my wife likes to say, and show off, right? That's what he needed. Nothing else was going to make any difference in his life. Reminded me of a story of Apostle Paul. Near the end of his book of Acts, and remember he got shipwrecked, and everybody swam ashore and they were safe. And but the locals thought these guys are criminals. These aren't godly people. But they got spared drowning, so maybe God's hand is on them. And then Paul is making a fire, and what happens? Remember? Gets bit by a snake. And they thought, well, you got to be a sinner. If you've got spared from drowning, God's going to get you with a snake. But then I'll just read this one verse to you. The people waited for him to swell up or suddenly just drop dead. Bit by a snake, right? But when they had waited a long time and saw that he hadn't been harmed, they changed their minds and decided, oh, now you're a god. Of course, Paul stopped that kind of thinking too. So, public opinion, it's fickle, it changes. You can't make your decisions on public opinion. You need to make it, well, as we say, an audience of one, right? Now, we're talking about faith, and all of us are going to have challenges to our faith. We're going to be around people that don't believe the way we do. And some of them inside the church. I'm not talking about just people out there. So I came across a list of people we need to overcome, people we need to in our faith journey. The first are people I just call drainers or downers. They just don't have any positive things to say. I thought of the book of Job, some of Job's quote-unquote friends. And so, you wanting to believe, and instead of being encouragers, come alongside you, I'm going to trust, I'm going to believe with you, I'm going to pray with you for this, whatever it might be, through this difficult time in your life, this difficult season. But though these people say, nah, it's not going to get any better. You and your wife have been fighting for years, you're going to keep fighting. They don't believe. And so since they don't believe, it takes a drain. I'm trying to believe God, but these people are trying to pull me down. Then there's a stronger group is what I call intimidators. They'll actually attack your belief, right? You're stupid to believe Jesus is going to heal that or going to fix that or, you're going to get a better job or you're going to find a liver transplant, whatever it might be, right? Just kind of intimidated. Maybe I can't believe because they're not believing. And then there's actual people that mock us, make fun of us, right? For believing. So these are people in our lives that we need to overcome, especially when we're dealing with difficult situations. And there's all kinds of examples in Scripture. Faith sometimes makes you look silly, doesn't it? Let's admit. Probably the classic example would be Noah. All right, God says, build a boat in the desert, and then it's going to rain for 40 days, and nobody's ever seen rain, and it takes him 100 years to build this boat. And if it hadn't rained, he'd look pretty silly, right? David. Nobody would fight Goliath. And then little David comes along, and he doesn't even put on any armor or a sword and goes out to fight. Looks pretty silly, doesn't he? Abraham and Sarah. I think Sarah's like 90 years old, and God said, you're going to have a child. Of course, we all know 90-year-old women can't have children, right? She even laughed. She didn't believe. But Abraham believed. And she had a child. So don't be afraid to look silly. Don't be afraid to go against public opinion. In fact, to be a Christian, you go against public opinion anymore, right? Definition of faith. Believing God for something that hasn't happened yet. Right? You're in the midst of this difficult situation. Your marriage hasn't gotten better. Your relationship with your child hasn't gotten better. Or you're in it battling some addiction and you haven't made much progress. Faith of believing God for something you haven't seen yet. We said a couple weeks ago, believing is seeing, right? So what do you got to do? You just got to keep believing. You just can't give up. Put that verse on your outline. So don't get tired of doing what is good. Don't get tired of believing and trusting God. Don't get tired. The right time, you'll reap a harvest of blessing. God's going to honor it and reward that if you don't give up. So keep on keeping on. Hang in there. Keep on praying. Keep on fighting. Keep on believing. Lesson number 4. Know that Jesus hears your cry when you're hurting. Interesting thing Chris pointed out to me was, we know this guy's name. Jesus knows his name. Does Jesus know your name? Of course he does. The text reads, when Jesus heard him, he stopped. He responded. He stopped for one in the midst of a big crowd. And he says, tell him to come here. So they called the blind man. Cheer up, they said. Come on, he's calling you. Now, I don't know if you picked this up, but this is what I'm picturing here. These folks were yelling at him a few minutes ago, right? Telling him to shut up. So what has changed? He had Jesus' attention. And if you're in that crowd, whose attention do you want? Jesus' attention. So, what's the best way of getting Jesus' attention? To be helping, assisting, putting your arm around the guy that Jesus is connected with, right? Crowds are fickle. He stopped for one. But Jesus says earlier in the Sermon on the Mount, keep on asking and you'll receive. Keep on seeking and you'll find. Keep on knocking and the door will be open. The key is what? Don't give up. Lesson number 5. Remove any barriers. Now, there's always barriers, right? There's always ifs. So what was one of Bartimaeus' barriers? He threw aside his coat, jumped up, and came to Jesus. Now, we kind of just read that and we don't think much of that. Clothing was expensive. This was something of value to him. It may have been his shield against the sun, his warmth against the cold. It might have even identified him as a blind beggar so that people would give money to him. So this is something of purpose and value to Bartimaeus. He throws it aside. He jumped up and came to Jesus. So the question is going to be on your outline, but I don't want to go there yet. What What is holding you back? What barrier? What, if something would change, I'd become a Jesus follower if. What's the barrier? I would trust Jesus in this situation, this relationship, this financial situation. If. What's the barrier? Number one barrier, I think, for most of us is something called pride. Are you one of these people that don't like to ask for help, even God's help? And it's good to be self-sufficient, but I can do it myself. Some of you heard this story. I shared it in the first service when Deb and I, in our 13th year of marriage, was kind of butting heads. And I said, I'm a pastor. I've been a pastor for like 10. I was a missionary at the time. International missionary. I can fix this. I can figure this out, right? Well, I was wrong. And after some suggestion from several people to go visit a counselor, that's what we did. Pride. What's holding you back from fixing that relationship or asking someone to forgive you, apologizing? Maybe struggling with an addiction. Maybe you need to take a job making less money, but you'll be happier. What's the barrier? What are you not willing to sacrifice to get what you ultimately need? Lesson number 6. Shouldn't need to say. Be honest with Jesus. Be honest with Jesus. Jesus asked this guy a question. What do you want? What do you want me to do for you? Neat question. I think we all can claim hearing Jesus say, what do you want me to do for you? Beyond salvation, the difficulty, fix this health issue, fix this relationship, whatever it might be. What do you want me to do? And he called him my rabbi, which I thought was interesting. Not a rabbi, but mine. Wise man said, I want to see. That's kind of a no-brainer, right? But maybe he didn't believe he could see. He could heal him. Can I ask for $1 million, big mansion, whatever. I'm going to be blind, but at least I'll be rich. Now, what did he really need? What did he need? He didn't say need. He actually said, what do you want? I want to see. I need a miracle. Nobody can fix this other than you. I need a miracle. So what do you want Jesus to do for you? Are you asking him to heal that situation, to take away that hurt? Are you trusting that he will? Sometimes the time goes by and it doesn't happen as quickly as we like, right? Are you still trusting? And last lesson. This is huge, this is big. Remain faithful in the good times. There's a term, foxhole religion. There's no atheists in foxhole. We don't live in foxhole, do we? Oh, we have problems, we have difficulties. But then things are okay. Remember 9/11? Those of you old enough? What happened after 9/11? Churches filled up, right? Are they still full? No. Remain faithful, not just in the difficulties, but in the good time. So, text said it this way, and Jesus said to him, go, for your faith has healed you. So he got what he asked for, got his miracle. Now he can go on with his life. So what does he do? What does he choose to do? Instantly the man could see, happened instantly, and he followed Jesus down the road. We say it every week, right? Following Jesus, changing together. Most important thing for you and I is, in the midst of difficulties, all the time, is to follow Jesus, right? Now, always reminded that where did Jesus go when I tell people to follow Jesus? He was headed to Jerusalem. He was headed to a cross. But he was also headed to an empty tomb. the resurrection. He is alive, and you and I can be alive because of that cross. So there'll be crosses in our lives that he bore the greatest burden. We'd like to give you something to think about. Next step, pick one of these 7. And probably one of them resonated with you already more than the rest, right? Maybe you're still thinking about it and not even listening to what I'm saying. I don't know. Choose one of them. That'll be the most beneficial to you right now. God lays on your heart however you want to think about it. And put it into practice. Begin to do it. Found out the curriculum the children are studying, youth are studying, pretty much follows our Bible reading the way it's been divided up for us. So I picked out something out of our readings for this week. Samuel's dedicated to temple. Eli's the head priest. He's kind of his mentor. And time goes by, things kind of deteriorate in the priesthood. Eli's sons are kind of rascals. And so God comes and speaks to Samuel at night. Eventually figures out it's God. Eli says, God's speaking to you, listen. So God tells him, Eli's 2 sons are going to die on the same day, and some other bad stuff's going to happen. And so then he meets up with Eli, and Eli tells him, tell me what God said. Tell it to me straight. Don't hold anything back. It is the Lord's will. His word, right? Let him do what he thinks best. Can you and I pray that prayer? Especially in the midst of difficulty, let you, God, decide what's best. Because he knows what's best, doesn't he? Let me pray with you. Thank you, God, for Bartimaeus. It's neat to know his name. We'll get to meet him in person one of these days. We thank you for his determination, his driven to reach his goal. And God, you honored that. You honored his faith and trust in you. And God, I don't know what difficult times each of these folks are going through. But you do. And you know it will make a difference. Whether it's to not wait, because it's not perfect condition, or whether it's to sacrifice something, get rid of a barrier, something that's holding us back. Especially if it's holding us back from faith. What is holding you back from faith in Jesus? Cast it aside, as he did his cloak. The most important thing is to get to Jesus. And then to follow him. And so God, that is our prayer for each of us that is a Jesus follower. That we would follow you in the difficulties and as well as in the good times. And we thank you in Jesus' name.